Arsenal versus Bayer Leverkusen, Emirates Stadium. The Emirates is ready, the floodlights are on, and Arsenal know exactly what is on the line tonight. This is not a routine Champions League knockout tie. This is a moment that will define what kind of season Arsenal are truly having. Because right now, in the space of 1 week, this club has the opportunity to move into the quarter-finals of the Champions League while sitting 9 points clear at the top of the Premier League. Think about that for a second. 9 points clear, Carabao Cup final on the horizon, and now a European knockout tie at home, under the lights, at the Emirates. But here is the thing. The tie is not done. It is absolutely not done. And if you walked into last week expecting Arsenal to stroll through Leverkusen, you were reminded very quickly that this competition does not work that way. The first leg in Germany ended 1-1. Robert Andrich put Kasper Hjulmann's side in front with a header at the start of the second half. Arsenal, the club sitting top of the Premier League, the club that topped the entire Champions League phase without losing a game, were being outplayed on German soil. And it took a late penalty from Kai Havertz in the dying moments to salvage a result and bring the tie back to North London level. That is where we are. 1-1 on aggregate. Advantage, marginally, to Arsenal because of home ground. But nothing is settled, nothing is decided, and that is exactly why tonight matters so much. The stakes. Let me be very direct with you about what is at stake here, because I think some people underestimate the weight of this moment. Arsenal are chasing something extraordinary this season. The Premier League title is within touching distance. They are 9 points clear with 7 games to play. The Carabao Cup final is already locked in, and there is still a run in the FA Cup. The word quadruple is being spoken quietly in the background, very quietly, but it is being spoken. If Arsenal go out of the Champions League tonight to a Bayer Leverkusen side sitting 6th in the Bundesliga, a side 5 points adrift of a Champions League qualification place in Germany, that is a result that would not just end their European campaign. It would shift the entire narrative around this season. Everything that Mikel Arteta has built, every conversation about this club finally crossing the line and becoming genuine European contenders takes a significant hit. This is the moment where the belief either gets confirmed or gets questioned. And before we go any further, if you are watching this channel and you want analysis that goes deeper than the headlines, that actually breaks down what is happening and why it matters, then hit that subscribe button right now. Arsenal Tom is the place for serious Arsenal analysis, and we are not going anywhere. Every big moment this season, we will be right here, breaking it down for you. Subscribe now and make sure you do not miss a single one. Right, back to the tie. Deep dive, the first leg revisited. The performance in Germany last week told us something important about both clubs, and it is worth going through it carefully because it directly shapes what Arteta needs to do differently tonight. Leverkusen were not lucky in the first leg. They were good, genuinely good. Their midfield, led by Alex Garcia and Ezequiel Palacios, were precise. They found ways to escape Arsenal's press, which is no small achievement. Arsenal's press is one of the most consistently effective tools in European football this season. The ability to spring the press, to play through it rather than over it, requires technical quality and composure. Leverkusen showed both of those things in Germany. That is the honest assessment. Arsenal were caught cold. Build-up errors were a problem. The press was not functioning as it normally does. And when a side like Leverkusen, with the technical quality they carry through the middle of the pitch, gets time and space to operate, they are dangerous. And Rich's header was the consequence of those build-up errors compounding, and it took Havertz's penalty deep into the game to rescue the result and keep Arsenal's aggregate position from becoming genuinely difficult. There is something else worth noting about how the first leg ended. Arteta took Bukayo Saka off after an hour. His replacement, Noni Madueke, came on and helped Arsenal turn the tide. That is a tactical detail that matters. It tells you that Arteta identified a problem during the game, made an adjustment, and the team responded positively. That is the hallmark of a well-drilled, flexible squad. It is also a signal that Madueke could play a significant role again tonight, whether from the start or from the bench. The injury situation, this is where things get complicated for Arsenal, and I want to lay it out clearly for you, because the injury picture coming into this game is not straightforward. Jurriën Timber was forced off before half-time in Saturday's Premier League win over Everton. He collided with Iliman Ndiaye and could not continue. The question going into tonight is whether he recovers quickly enough to feature. At this stage, that is unclear. It is a situation that Arteta will monitor right up until the team sheet is submitted. If Timber cannot go, Arsenal's options at right-back are Ben White, who has only recently returned from his own injury setback, or Christian Mosquera. Neither of those is the first-choice option. Arteta would want for a Champions League knockout night. But it is the reality of where the squad currently stands. Martin Ødegaard is not even in the conversation for this game. His knee injury is expected to keep him out until after the upcoming international break. Ødegaard is Arsenal's creative heartbeat, the player who knits the attacking play together and controls the tempo. His absence is significant on any night. On a Champions League knockout night, it is a challenge that the rest of the squad has to collectively absorb. Leandro Trossard is also absent. He picked up a knock in the FA Cup victory against Mansfield Town and was not part of the matchday squad at the weekend. He is not expected to feature tonight either. So to summarise the injury situation clearly, Timber is doubtful, Ødegaard is out, Trossard is out. That is 3 players, all important contributors, all unavailable or uncertain. This is the context Arteta is managing, as he prepares his side for one of the biggest home European nights of his tenure. The predicted lineup and what it tells us, based on what is available, the expected lineup for Arsenal tonight would see David Raya in goal. The back four would likely be Mosquera at right back, William Saliba and Gabriel at centre back, and Ricardo Hincapié at left back. In the midfield double pivot, Martin Zubimendi and Declan Rice. And in the attacking positions, Bukayo Saka on the right, Ethan Eze through the middle, Gabriel Martinelli on the left, and Victor Gyökeres as the central striker. Now let me analyse what that lineup tells us tactically. The Zubimendi and Rice partnership in the pivot is absolutely critical tonight. With Ødegaard absent, those 2 players carry the responsibility of controlling the tempo and protecting the defence. Leverkusen's midfielders, Garcia and Palacios, were brilliant in the first leg. They will look to find the same pockets of space tonight. Zubimendi and Rice will need to be aggressive in pressing and disciplined in their positioning to deny those 2 any rhythm. Eze in the Ødegaard role is an interesting selection. He offers creativity and directness, but he is a different type of player to Ødegaard. Ødegaard is a conductor. Eze is a carrier, someone who can drive at defences and create moments of individual brilliance. Arteta will be asking him to find that balance between creating for others and expressing his own game. Gyökeres leads the line. He is the focal point of the attack. His physicality and his ability to hold the ball up will be important when Arsenal are trying to play out of tight situations and transition into attacks. His goal threat is obvious. Leverkusen's defence will be very aware of him. Max Daumann is unlikely to start despite his stunning impact at the weekend, where the 16-year-old produced a decisive cameo against Everton. But expect him to be involved from the bench. If Arsenal needs something different in the final 20 minutes, Daumann is now a credible option. Leverkusen's situation and why it matters. I want to spend some time on Leverkusen's position coming into tonight, because understanding what they are fighting for tells you a lot about how they will approach this game. Kasper Hjulmann's side are 6th in the Bundesliga. They are 5 points behind Stuttgart, who occupy the final Champions League qualification spot in Germany. In short, Leverkusen are at serious risk of not qualifying for the Champions League through their domestic league next season. That makes this European run absolutely vital for them, not just for the prestige of a deep Champions League run, but for the financial and competitive consequences of where they finish in Germany. When a team is fighting on 2 fronts and struggling in their domestic competition, there is a real psychological complexity to how they approach a tie like this. On one hand, the Champions League represents their best chance of remaining at the top table of European football next season. On the other hand, the physical and emotional demands of a 2-legged knockout, particularly travelling to one of the best home European atmospheres in England, are enormous. Their Bundesliga form tells a cautionary tale. In between the 2 legs of this tie, Leverkusen played Bayern Munich and could only draw, even though Bayern were eventually reduced to 9 players. Luis Diaz cancelled out Alex Garcia's early opener, but Leverkusen failed to capitalise on their numerical advantage. That is a result that raises questions about their consistency and their ability to impose themselves when the opposition is reduced. Arteta's camp will have noted that. The Emirates factor and Arsenal's home record. Here is a statistic that deserves serious attention. Under Mikel Arteta, Arsenal have won 13 of their 16 Champions League home games. 13 wins from 16. The only defeat in that period came against Paris Saint-Germain in last season's semi-final. That is a remarkable record. It speaks to the atmosphere at the Emirates on European nights, and it speaks to how well drilled this Arsenal side is when playing at home in this competition. Leverkusen won away at Manchester City in the league phase earlier this season. That result will give them confidence, but what they encountered at the Etihad and what they will encounter at the Emirates tonight are different propositions. Arsenal's crowd, after the dramatic and euphoric finish against Everton on Saturday, will be energised. There will be a buoyancy around the place coming into this second leg that you cannot manufacture. The Everton game matters for reasons beyond just the 3 points. A narrow win would have created anxiety. A win secured by a 16-year-old in dramatic fashion creates belief. The Emirates faithful walk into tonight's game with momentum, with confidence, and with the memory of Saturday's conclusion still very fresh. That crowd will be a weapon tonight, and Leverkusen know it. The set-piece debate and what it means for tonight. There has been a significant conversation happening around Arsenal this season, and it is directly relevant to how they are likely to approach this game. 21 Premier League goals this season have come from set pieces. That is 34.4% of their total Premier League goal tally. That percentage is the highest of any club in Europe's top 5 leagues. Now, some people in the football world have suggested that this means Arsenal's title challenge should somehow carry an asterisk. that if they win the league, they will be remembered primarily as a set-piece team rather than a truly great footballing side. Jamie Carragher, speaking on Sky Sports alongside Thierry Henry, called that view absolute nonsense. And from a purely analytical standpoint, his argument is grounded in something important. He pointed out that Arteta had to find a different way to compete with the financial power and tactical sophistication of Pep Guardiola at Manchester City and Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool. He could not simply outspend those clubs or outpossess them at the top of their powers. He had to develop a competitive advantage that others were not fully exploiting. Set pieces are a legitimate, coachable, repeatable tactical weapon. Exploiting them at the level Arsenal have this season requires preparation, movement, precision, and commitment from every player involved. It is not luck. It is not accident. It is design. And here is what that means for tonight. Leverkusen will know exactly how dangerous Arsenal are from dead ball situations. The preparation they will have done this week will have heavily focused on that. Neutralizing Arsenal's set-piece threat will be a primary tactical objective for Hjulmand's side. What that creates in turn is interesting space for Arsenal in open play. If Leverkusen commits significant defensive attention and man-marking resources to set-piece situations, that could leave gaps in their defensive structure when the game is flowing. Arteta and his staff will be thinking about how to exploit exactly that dynamic. The quadruple conversation. Let us be clear about the broader context of this season, because it matters to how we understand the significance of tonight. Arsenal are 9 points clear in the Premier League, with 7 games remaining. They have secured a place in the Carabao Cup final against Manchester City on Sunday, March 22nd. They remain in the FA Cup, and they are in the last 16 of the Champions League. The word quadruple is being used. It is being used carefully, and it is being used quietly, but it is being used, and the reason it is being used is because the results and the league position make it a genuine conversation. Winning all 4 trophies in a single season is one of the rarest achievements in the history of English football. It requires consistency, depth, fitness, and an extraordinary level of sustained performance across multiple competitions simultaneously. Arsenal are currently positioned in a way where that conversation is not absurd, but here is the reality check that this tie provides. The Champions League does not care about your Premier League lead. It does not care about your Carabao Cup final date. It operates on its own logic, on 45 minutes and then 45 more, on moments and margins and individual brilliance or individual mistakes. Tonight is the first major test of whether Arsenal's squad depth and collective belief are strong enough to manage the demands of competing on all 4 fronts simultaneously. Ødegaard is out, Trossard is out, Timber is doubtful, and yet the challenge of a Bayer Leverkusen side that competed brilliantly in the first leg remains fully in front of them. How they respond to that challenge, with the resources they have available, will tell us something fundamental about this group. What Arsenal need to do to progress. Let me close by being very direct about what Arsenal need to deliver tonight. They need to be disciplined at the back. Leverkusen are technically precise in their build-up play, and they will look for the same moments they found in Germany, where they could spring the press and open up space in behind. Saliba and Gabriel will need to be sharp in their decision-making. Rice and Zubimendi in the pivot will need to cover the ground and stay compact. They need to be brave on the ball. One of the problems in the first leg was build-up errors under pressure. Leverkusen pressed intelligently, and Arsenal were not clean enough in possession in the first half. Tonight, with home advantage, the instruction has to be to stay calm, recycle the ball patiently, and wait for the right moments to play forward. They need to exploit set pieces. With 21 Premier League goals from dead ball situations this season, Arsenal have clearly identified this as a primary scoring mechanism. In a knockout tie that could be decided by a single goal, set pieces are not just a nice-to-have. They are a central part of the game plan. They need their big players to step up. Saka, when he is fully functioning, is one of the most dangerous wide players in European football. Gyökeres is a striker with the physical presence and composure in the box to cause problems at this level. And whoever occupies the Ødegaard role, whether that is Eze or someone else, needs to take responsibility for making the game move. And they need their crowd. The Emirates, at its best on a European night, is a genuinely intimidating environment for visiting teams. The energy from Saturday's Everton game, the euphoria of Max Daumann's decisive contribution, the awareness that the title is close, that history is close, all of that should create an atmosphere that drives this team forward. Final thought, Arsenal are the favourites tonight. Their home record in Europe under Arteta is exceptional. Their league position gives them confidence. Their squad, even with the injury concerns, has the quality to progress. But Leverkusen earned the right to come to the Emirates at 1-1. They played well in Germany. They have the technical midfield quality to trouble this Arsenal side again, if given the same space they found in the first leg. This is not a formality. It never was. Knockout football at this level never is. What it is an opportunity. A chance for Arsenal to confirm that this season is not just a domestic story. A chance to show that the Champions League, the competition that has frustrated and eluded this club for so many years, is genuinely within their reach in 2026. The Emirates is ready. Arteta's side is prepared. And one way or another, by the final whistle tonight, we will know exactly where Arsenal stand. That is the analysis. Stay with Arsenal, Tom, for full coverage of tonight's second leg and everything that follows. If you found this breakdown useful, subscribe right now. Share it with any Arsenal supporter who needs the full picture before kickoff. And we will see you on the other side of this one.